€1 for a single hinge hole. That's how much woodworking shops are asking for these days. Stay with me until the end of this tutorial and I promise you'll learn for free how to mark the fixing position, how to make hinge holes, how to mount them, and of course how to choose the most suitable hinges for your project. If you want to support this channel, leave a comment, a like or subscribe. Also, if you like the tutorial, you can use the thank you button. I'll show you not one but 3 ways in which I make these hinge holes. Regardless of the option you choose, the first step must be to identify precisely the back of the door or front and the correct side where these holes will be made. The first dimension you must remember is 21.5 mm or 22 mm. We draw a mark from the main edge of the door. On the corresponding side of the future door height, I usually draw another mark from its extremities at a distance between 80 and 100 mm, as I marked on the back of this plywood board, which will be one of my doors. In the first version, I'll make a hole using a 35 mm Forstner drill bit. I carefully insert the bit into the electric drill and begin drilling the future door. The big secret of this operation is to gradually penetrate the material until we reach the desired depth. A clue that tells us that the depth of the hole is correct is when we see that the bit is flush with the plywood board. However, to be on the safe side, we check with a measuring tool whether the depth of the hole just made is 13 mm, whether we use a combination square, a ruler or a caliper. The second option for making hinge holes for our future doors is to use this template shown in the video. On my YouTube channel you will find a tutorial in which I show step by step how to make this template. Now I am careful to fix this template on both edges of the front or door. I will use my clamps and the same tools as in option number 1 to gradually penetrate the material. The third way to make hinge holes is to use a column drilling machine. It's not very expensive and I've adjusted it to penetrate the material by a fixed 13 mm depth. If I had doors of larger dimensions, I would have used this chart, which indicates the number of hinges needed based on the height and weight of the door. We have here several types of hinges, almost a complete set with the most commonly used hinges in furniture production. The first on the list are full overlay hinges, which are the most commonly used. They are the first 4 hinges in the video. The best way to differentiate between hinges is to examine this area, where they differ according to their destination of use and accordingly their name. Next on the list are half overlay hinges, noting that in this area they are slightly curved compared to full overlay hinges. These are the half overlay hinges followed by flush overlay hinges. In the case of flush overlay hinges, we notice that this hump is larger than the one in the half overlay hinges. In the video you can now see the corner cabinet hinge, which I use very often in my projects. And here we also have the wide angle hinge, which has a more unusual shape, impossible to mistake for other types. The most commonly used are the ones with an opening of 155 and 170 degrees. To recap, we have the corner cabinet hinge, flash overlay hinges, half overlay hinges, and full overlay hinges, which are of course the most commonly used. Now that I've presented the types of hinges, let's see how to mount them on doors in the simplest and most efficient way. The hinges are perfectly aligned, and I will use 3.5 by 16 screws for this operation using the drill, after setting it to low speed and low torque to prevent the hinges from being pulled out of the material, and the doors will stay in their fixed position. Moving on with this beautiful tutorial, we have reached the chapter where we will attach the doors to the furniture bodies in their final position. In both cases, I will draw a line at 37 mm with the help of the combination square and pencil on the sides where the hinges will be attached. I added the link to the episode on how to use a combination square in the description. We can also make these markings after assembling the furniture body on the workbench. We place the door in the right place, leaving the standard distances left and right, and use 4 by 18 or 3.5 by 18 screws. Now we thread these screws at the 37 mm line. Of course, you must remember to set the drill correctly. Returning to mounting the doors or fronts on the already assembled and positioned furniture bodies, we must ensure that the design distances remain, and we screw the screws firmly on the line drawn at 37 mm. And now, as an important note, when fixing a door on the sink bases, which as we know from other episodes have a connecting element at the top with a recommended width of 100 mm, you must be careful where you fix this hinge in the upper part of the door. If I were to mount it at the standard distance of 100 mm, it would have overlapped with the connecting element. So be very careful when making marks on the sink bases. Ideally, we should place the top hinge at 150 mm. Also, if you have taller doors on which you will apply at least 2 hinges, you will need to be careful where you place the hinges so that they do not overlap with the shelves. In my 20 years of carpentry, I have ruined several doors due to carelessness. Regarding the adjustments of the hinges, I remind you that on this channel you will find a tutorial in which I explain step by step how to adjust these hinges, and I invite you to watch it. Now let's talk about how to use these hinges. First on the list is the full overlay hinge, which is used when the doors cover the entire thickness of the side panels. You remember it from general presentation, the door closes and covers the cabinet walls entirely. Next we have the half overlay hinge, which we use when we need to mount 2 doors on the same plywood panel, like with these cabinets. Further on we have the flush overlay hinges, which we have here. The door is flush with the cabinet's plywood side panels. We also have the Carpenter's manual here. Even after 20 years of experience, I like to self-educate. Next on the list is the corner cabinet hinge, which we'll use when we have an angle of 180 degrees between the door and the hinge's mounting plate, as seen in the video. This is a corner cabinet and it is obvious that this hinge fits perfectly for this situation. Let's also see the usefulness of the wide angle hinge. This is used when we want to have more space after opening the door. Instead of opening at 110 degrees like a classic hinge, this one allows me to open the door much wider so that I can pass through this hallway without any problems. The most commonly used wide-angle hinges are the ones with a 155 and the one with a 170 degree opening. My dear friends, as promised at the beginning of this tutorial, I have explained as much as possible what kind of hinges you will need depending on the project, how to make holes for them, and how you can mount them both on the door and on the cabinets. On my channel you will find much more information about the world of furniture, so don't forget to leave a like or a comment with your opinion about this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out my other interesting tutorials.